everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the Endtime.Church live Friday thing we call Ask the Pastor. That's me, Pastor C, Christopher Manti, Manti4 on the X platform. If you want to correspond there, I'm game. Go ahead and log in and say hello, like our friend Bondservant. Welcome, friend. So come on in and say hello wherever you're watching this. Go ahead and hit the share button, please. That'd be rad. Thank you. I'm trying not to sneeze right now. That's why I'm making funny faces. Don't do it. Yeah. Yeah, I got trimmed. Anyways, one day there won't be anything left. But for now, we still got a little. Thank you, T-Rex. Or Tricks. Tricks are for kids. Hey, Loanne. Oh, that's sweet. Thank you so much. Following along while the grandkids are out. That's awesome. Mine are not, I don't have any grandkids, but regular children are too big to do that with. They want to go by themselves. Okay, so anyway, tell me who you are, where you're from. Ask whatever is on your mind. Whether it is from an Endtime.Church service, which we have every Monday night for 6 years running now. 6 years. By the way, just had a chance to talk to, I had an elders meeting actually earlier today with Pastor Jake McCandless, who's one of our co-founders. And Stuart Rushton, Pastor Stuart in the UK, and Randy Scott, our local pastor, your favorite Endtime.Church daily words of encouragement guy on every day. So anyway, that was a great convo. And so that's why we're here. We do what we do because we want to serve the church worldwide, and everyone who is going to ask a question today, you are more than welcome to. Doesn't matter where you are, what church you go to, or if you're not in a church at all. But today is the day of salvation. Jesus has shed his blood for you because, yep, you're a sinner, and so am I. And that's why we need him. Amen. Okay. So time for you to ask whatever you want about whatever, something you heard here or not, any topic, any concern, anything in the current events, the news cycle, about geopolitics, the nations, war and peace, Bible, of course, stuff like that, UFOs, the politics, anything in there. All right. And by the way, and I'll put this banner back up because we tried a couple times. I think I gave away one book so far. But if you are a new person who's never asked before, and I'm trying to find it. Maybe it's gone forever. Well, shoot, I can't find it. Anyway, if you never asked a question before, go ahead and do it. And if you send me an email, you say, hey, Pastor Manti, I just asked a question for the first time. Send me that book for free. Yes, I will. I'll email it to you immediately. Maybe I need to just put my glasses on. There it is. First time questioners get Flee to the Mountains free PDF download. Just ask and send an email to Christopher at Endtime.Church. There you go. This is the hardcover version. Very beautiful, by the way. Amazon, you could have this, or go to fleetothemountains.com if you want a physical copy or the audiobook read by yours truly, or whatever. But if you want the digital for free, and just go ahead and send me an email. Okay. All right. Loanne, ask your questions. You got good ones. That's what I hear about Loanne. Jeff the Christian, what's up? Yeah. Does it coincide with a blood moon? I I can't tell you that. It's privileged information. I have to get you into a skiff for that one. I never met Jeff IRL in real life, but I think if and when we do, um, it'll be a chuckle fest because that guy is funny. All right, let's get the questions. Other than that one, which is no. Okay. Actually, wait. T Rex asked me something beforehand. I'm gonna find it someday. Thanks for the compliments on the haircut, guys. It's the easiest one. I just tell them numbers, and it's all clippers. And thank you for sharing. Those who already have, you're very precious. Thank you. Okay. T-Rex, repeat your question. It's something about what about the hearings, right? Ah, predictions for how the November 13th hearings will go down. Okay. Got it. So what that is referring to is apparently it's been kind of on again, off again, or not sure, or probably, maybe, kind of, sort of. Nancy Mace has said by text message from her personal phone, not to me, to a reporter that yes, she said, come hell or high water, November 13th is the date of a UFO, UAP disclosure, whatever, hearing, the second one in the House on November the 13th. As of yesterday or the day before, there was a lot of rumors going around that maybe it won't happen because some people aren't happy about it in the Pentagon. We don't know what exactly they won't be happy about, other than the only they're not releasing the names of who would be the witnesses or the speakers who would go public or give their story to testify. Other than, who was it? Tim Gallaudet, I think, was named, but no one else will be. And that's probably a good idea, because then it doesn't give the opponents lead time to dig up dirt or try to debunk or defame the witnesses before they ever speak. Two senators were blocking it. Well, it looked like two congressmen, Turner and Himes. That's the names that came up. I don't know what the real deal is. Somebody was saying it's people inside the Pentagon who were appealing to Turner. Well, Turner and Himes aren't on these committees, the committee that was going to host the hearing or have the hearing, so it's none of his darn business. You can think what he wants, but you can't tell another committee what they can do. Anyway, I felt like the Speaker of the House was saying it. So, but then we got confirmation just before we went on here, and this is all getting to the answer, or to the attempt at an answer. Let me read what I found out from a local news station. U.S. House to hold UFO hearing November 13th. Cyber Subcommittee and National Security Subcommittee set joint hearing. Technically speaking, those are different committees than the David Grush, Fravor, and Graves hearing from last July. That was the Oversight Committee or whatever. Anyways, so this is different. And that committee is chaired by Nancy Mace. Nancy Mace wanted to chair this hearing, so why not bring it to my committee? Makes sense. And the National Security Subcommittee that's pretty neat. And would open up to a whole new potential line of information, which would be awesome, actually. And that chairman is Glenn Grothman from Wisconsin. So there are two Republicans are the chairs of those committees, so they'd be basically in charge. Nancy Mace is going to be the in charge. So what else do we know from that? Nothing. Committee PR woman says we don't have any further details to share at this time. So there you go. I will effort to be there in person on the 13th in DC. Outside the building, probably, I'm told, is extremely difficult, even though it'll be open to the public. Extremely difficult to actually get in the room because it's just not a big room, and a lot of people want to be there. So anyway, okay. Well, what's my prediction? Is that what the question is? Best predictions for how we'll go down. I have imagination, right? I have. It depends how shrewd they are in who they invite to testify. That's what I think. They could really blow it. They could really knock it out of the park too. If you're going to invite people with known stories or known claims, or maybe specious claims, or we've heard this, for so long, years ago, this was already debunked, or he's a liar, or whatever. If it's going to be that type of thing, it's going to be a problem. I think you need brand new, never before seen faces. Gauladetto is good. Those of us who are following along know that he's the real deal. And was a very high-ranking Navy Pentagon guy, very high-ranking. And Chris Mellon too. I don't know if that he'd be willing to, or maybe he didn't think he'd have much to offer. Anyway, who knows? Lou Elizondo is a possibility, and he actually alluded to that on YouTube yesterday. Well, he alluded to something. He alluded to possibly testifying soon somewhere. If it's not at this committee, at this hearing, I don't know what he could be referring to at all. So they might invite him. Now that could be, considering what has happened with him in the past, as far as the Defense Department kind of denying they know him. It's kind of like Peter and Jesus, right? Like, never heard of the guy. Don't know who that is. Never worked for us. Never had that program. Never had leadership of anything, like that type of junk. And then, oh, by the way, we're going to mysteriously make all his emails disappear. Right? So we can't prove anything. All that stuff happened. So if he's coming, they might get nervous, because those are the actions of a nervous establishment, nervous gatekeepers. Of that, this guy actually knows stuff and he's willing to say. That makes them nervous. Or it's someone else who they're getting wind of, or who has not spoken publicly yet, who folks may be very nervous about because they know he knows a lot more than has been revealed. And maybe something like that. Maybe somebody who's willing to break their NDA on the spot. I'm hoping for that. Make them come and arrest you. Right? I would love that. I don't know. So you're going to get some combination. I would guess it would be more than 3. Like last year, it was 3 people. I'm guessing it will be more. And fireworks. That's my prediction. Honestly, because of the topic, yes. Because of the charges or the claims that are bound to come. Yes, it'll be explosive, but even more so because this is an election year. The election itself would have already happened, right? Because the election is November 6th, 7th. What the heck's the date? 5th? 5th. Right. So Tuesday the 5th is the election. Remember, the House of Representatives, which is where this is going to happen, Nancy Mace and Grothman and all these guys and gals are in the House. The House only has 2-year terms. Every 2 years, every single one of the House is up for re-election. So it's possible. I don't know about Nancy Mace. I was actually going to check on her polling. If she's in any danger of being ousted or not. But even if you lose on November 5th, you still have a job, you still have your seat until January. So, you know what I'm saying? So hypothetically, Nancy Mace or anyone else on these committees really want to get to the bottom of this, but they're worried about re-election. Guess what? Election's over. And especially if they lost already, this is the last hurrah for them. They're out in 2 months anyways. Let it all hang out. Who cares? I don't need to worry about nothing. I'm out. I'm back home in January doing a regular job. So this is all coming out now, right? That would be great. I think that's actually good if that happens. So those are my general thoughts. I hope that's adequate, T-Rex. Okay. Vod Servant says, okay, like this is kind of not a joke, but it's my dry humor or condescending humor. It says, talk about the Expos where China drone thing from the 50s. Let me try to pull up and show you what she's talking about. I posted a lot the last couple days. Here we go. I'm trying to share now. Eventually it'll work. Oi. Okay, here we go. That's really kind of small. Still pretty small. Sorry, can't read it, but if you can read it, the 10 there's some new information that has come out, even though it was kind of extended by a year. This whole National Archives requirement that they release UAP declassified information, and anything that can't be proven that it should be classified all needs to be released to the National Archives. Any pictures or videos or documentation, all of that stuff was originally required to be released this past Sunday, the 20th. But then they pushed it out miraculously for another year. However, some of it has come and showed up this week. And some of it's quite interesting. And part of it is this: the 10 round and flat metallic UAPs in the encounter below. This is from 1953. Exhibited extreme performance while on a heading to the Nevada test site, a hotbed of nuclear testing in early 1953. The fateful July 1952 DC incursions occurred 3 months before the H-bomb. That's just a little side note of history. But the point is, and here's the report that was released in to the National Archives. Objects were round and flat, estimated size of a flying T-6 aircraft, metallic in color, and in a loose changing formation. No trail or exhaust was observed. No sound was heard. Observers were unable to estimate extremely high speed of objects because of distance and objects' large radius of turn. In other words, what the heck was that? That was not our stuff, okay? But today we see the same types of things, and we're told what? They're Chinese drones. Or oops, I forgot to share it on our app here. Sorry about that, guys. Well, you'll see it now. Yeah, we're told these are just Chinese drones that are on Langley Air Force Base or Langley, Virginia, and that, right? That's what we're told now. Consumer drones, or maybe the Chinese have a secret. Come on. So my comment was, like Bondservant said, yeah, look at this. These Chinese drone program was really active in 1953. Obviously, there was no such thing as a Chinese drone program. In 1953, humankind had not created drones in 1953. But yet, the same things that we're seeing now, we saw in 1950s. And yet, we still have some kind of cognitive dissonance, like we just can't believe that can't put fact A with fact B. Anyways, so if they're Chinese drones today, they must have been Chinese drones in 1953. What, in 1953, wasn't China basically going through a starvation, third world country? Wasn't Russian drones either, okay? Anyway, okay? That's what I meant by that. Okay, here's Loanne. While playing with the granddaughters, gets in a question. By the way, if she can play with her granddaughters and still ask questions, so can you who are watching right now. No matter where you're watching, no matter what you're doing, type it in. Doesn't have to be a question that you don't know who I am at all or whatever. You've always wanted to ask a pastor something. Do it. Just do it. How is it possible Kamala Harris makes the deciding vote? That's wrong. I'm sorry. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? When I'll get back to you, Loanne. Hang on. When did that UFO swarm happen over DC? 1952. 2 consecutive weekends in July. 1952. Yes, there were hundreds of witnesses. It's on radar. We scrambled fighter jets right over Washington. And that's one of those facts of history that gets very, very buried. Okay, now, if without further clarification, what's jumping out to me about this is Kamala Harris is the deciding vote. Do you mean as the vice president? So every vice president, which she is right now, obviously. Here you go. Thanks, T-Rex, with the save and abuse. July 1952. There you go. Thank you. Every vice president is also what's called the president of the Senate. If the Senate has any vote that is, and there's 100 senators, right? So you can have a 50-50 tie on anything. If that's the case, then the vice president will, one of the rare times, they act in that capacity as president of the Senate and can cast the deciding vote if it's tied. If that's what you're referring to, that's the way it's always been. Loanne says she can't text further about being VP. Yeah, that's just a VP power. Always has been. President of the Senate. Basically, that was like a concession when the Constitution and all the founding documents were coming out, like being written down. Like, who wants to be vice president? Like, what's the point of that? They don't have any powers. So who would even bother? Well, you get to be president of the Senate. How about that? Okay, sounds good. What that basically means is you convene meetings. You ever see that with the hammer, the gavel sometimes in there? They have joint sessions, right, with the Speaker of the House and the Majority Leader of the Senate, and then the Vice President sits like in this throne behind everyone, like ruling over them. That's the President of the Senate. She's wondering why, as a candidate, she can still do that. I'm thinking she might be not asking about the senator, the breaking the Senate ties, but in the electoral college count. Is that maybe what she's referring to? In that action and that power, the vice president is the one who certifies the election is final. All the states have come in, they've counted everything, they announced who their state voted for, the electoral votes are counted up. It's the January 6th, last 4 years ago, that was the date. January 6th, that's what happens, and the vice president just says, yep, I confirm that's what all the senators all the states just told me. Therefore, so-and-so has won the election. That has happened before. She's saying yes to that. That has, just from memory, 1992. President Reagan obviously couldn't run again. He had served 2 terms. His vice president was George Bush. George H.W. Bush, the older, right? George Bush was his vice president. He ran for president. And so when he won in 1992, 1988, excuse me. When he won in 1988, he actually presided over his own victory. But again, no vice president can do anything about it. Unlike what Mr. Trump and some people were lying, saying the vice president could somehow change something at that time. They can't. It was explicitly said, but now they even had to pass more legislation to make it more explicit. There is no option for the vice president to do anything other than to confirm what has already occurred. He can't make changes. He or she can't change anything or delay anything. It's just saying, yep, this was received. These states voted for this state voted for that. This is the final score. He just says, yep, the final score is 290 for candidate A and, whatever for candidate B. The winner is candidate A. Bang the gavel. It's official. But at that point, so it's happened before. So if she wins in November, she'll get to do that with herself as the victor in January. That's not a problem. She just happens to be the VP. By that point, though, what was lost in it, and what I tried to do is when it was happening on January 6th, 4 years ago, almost 4 years ago, we went on live that day when the stuff was going down. And I tried to explain at that point that this is just a formality. There are by that point, all the states had certified their elections. Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. They all had certified it in November or December, whenever they finished their process. You vote in November, early November. The state that you're in counts them up. Make sure it's right. They count them and count them and count them, or whatever. However, they need to do that. If one of the parties says, hey, recount, we want to recount, it's too close, we think we should, okay, they'll count them again. Count it again, count it again. At a certain point, a day, a week, 2 weeks later, they'll say it's been certified. The state attorney general of your state will say, look, yep, we're convinced, we're satisfied that this was a fair election. This is what the result is. Stamp it. It's done. All the states did that. No vice president can change that. That's not their right. What the remedy that was written into the Constitution for a challenge, if you think there was an unfair election in a given state, and you think even though they were counted and recounted and the attorney general was somehow biased or didn't look at all the evidence or something, and they actually certified a wrong result, even though I don't think that's pretty positive that's never happened, never been successfully challenged. There was one incident in Hawaii in 1960. Anyways, never in a major state, and never that would affect anything for sure. But even if you think the election in your state was incorrect or had a fraud or was corrupt in some way or whatever, there's some mistake, you can, the lawyers, okay, whatever party you're representing or the candidate that you're representing can step in and say, hold on, we're going to take this to court. And you can. After it's certified. It's hard, but you can within your state, because the Electoral College doesn't meet till December. All that means is the electors that you're sending, if you don't know how that works, you can ask today if you want to, but so the electors that your state, somebody wins Pennsylvania, and how many electoral votes do they have? Like 25? I don't remember. So those 25 votes are actually people. Those people go to Washington in December and actually say, us 25 people are here to confirm that candidate A has won our vote in November. We are voting for that person for president of the United States. And so between the election day and that time in December, you have a month plus, month and a half, about a month. That month is for challenging. You can challenge your lawyers, you send in your parties, you send in your money, you send in everything. And you saw that last election. It happened. And you go through your motions, and if there's challenges that can be upheld, they go through the court system, and there's evidence, and there's like the whole thing. But if it's determined that there is no evidence, or this is frivolous, you just want to stop your guy from losing, then sorry, not good enough. You need to prove what you're saying. Anyways, so you have a whole month to challenge it. Once that month is done, the Electoral College meets, and actually the actual election of the president happens in December. Not January with the vice president, and not November when you vote. The actual presidency is decided in December. That's the way the Constitution is. Right? So you have the actual day of voting, or the last day of voting. Now it's November 5th. You can vote early. You can vote by mail. Right? And all that stuff. So some states can count it when they receive it. Some states you have to wait till election day to count the mail-in votes. Whatever. That's depending on your state. That's what it is. That's why some states will have a result on election night and some won't. If there's a lot of mail-in votes and they're not allowed to count them until election day, they're going to take a while. Anyway, that process, you have that election day, you have that whole month to challenge it, and then you have the actual electoral college meeting in December. They meet, they say, we're voting for, our state voted for this candidate. They add them all up. Okay, election's over. Now in January, those same people go to their senators and say, here's a sealed, certified envelope. This is what our state said. And the January 6th, or the day that the election is finalized in front of the world, is just a formality. All they do is open an envelope and say, our state said, this person won our state, and our electoral votes go to candidate A. And they go through all the states and do that. The vice president says, yep, I received all these envelopes, and that's what it adds up to, and here's your winner. That's it. So it doesn't matter who is vice president. All they do is they have a ceremonial position that day to probably end their career, to end their vice presidency, or whatever. That's their role. So it's not a problem if Harris is that. She's not deciding anything in that case. If it's a 50-50 tie in the Senate, like a normal vote, yeah, she would decide. If it's presiding over the ceremony in January, she's not deciding anything. She's not voting. She's not choosing. She's not doing anything. Okay? Whew. That was a long one. But again, that's not unique to this election. Every vice president does that. And yeah. Okay, so any further question on that, or you had any other thoughts? Go ahead and follow up. No problem. So it doesn't matter that she's a candidate or not. She's still the vice president, and the vice president is the only one who can do it. T-Rex about the 1952 over DC. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Carrying on my wisecracking Chinese comment, Chinese drones. In 1952, 12 Chinese drones outran a team of U.S. Air Force fighter jets flying over Washington, D.C. Yeah, exactly. That's what we're being told to believe because we're morons. I mean, why not? Why not say that? It's just as silly as being told it now. Your Air Force told, I think it was the Air Force, told us point blank this week that this happened in just this year. And a drone interfered with and made a F-22 Raptor change course as to not to collide with it. An F-22 Raptor, the most advanced, in my opinion, the greatest plane, the greatest jet ever invented. I think by a mile. It's the greatest thing ever. It can outmaneuver, outfly, out-tech, just have weapons, jamming. It's in stealthy mode. You can't see it on radar. It's amazing. But supposedly a consumer drone or some mystery drone from God knows where, we have no idea where it came from or what it is or where it went, but it made our F-22, it got in the way and made it take evasive action. I don't think so. We know it's bull. One day they'll stop lying. Maybe. Lorraine says, good. You did good. Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Right. So, and to that point, I know there's a lot of, let's just say, ignorance on the topic, and especially when politics and partisanship partisanship. Politics is not a good word to use there. Partisanship is in play, where your guy or gal is like your team. Like I'm an Eagles fan, right? Not just wings of the Eagles, like the Philadelphia Eagles. So they're my team. I root for them like crazy. I get upset when they lose. I get really happy when they win. And during the course of the game, you can bet, even if I'm totally wrong, which I am, your fandom, your partisanship, I'm a partisan for the Eagles and against their opponent that day. Like they played the Giants last week, right? So I hate the Giants today. I hate them all the time, I guess. But like I'm against the Giants today, but I'm for the Eagles. So I'm a partisan. So when the referees make a penalty call or they don't make one and they miss, something that I say was a penalty, because I'm a fan, because I'm a partisan, I think it's unfair, even though it's the rules. And if it happened the other way, I'm totally fine with it. Because that's what fans do. We're unreasonable. It's not logical. Your passion consumes you, right? Your passion overtakes your reason. My passion for my team overtakes my rational looking at the rules. And maybe you're a new fan, right? And maybe a new fan of the Eagles or whatever, and you don't know all the rules of football. And some ding dong spreads a rumor that this rule doesn't exist, or there is a rule that's never used, or it's not being used because there's cheating. It's because you're partisan. Your logic is a bit sat down and your emotion has taken over. Your desire for your team winning or your candidate winning overtakes your logic and your common sense. Did that parable make any sense? For example, to that point, Bry says, you hated Saquon last year. How do you like him now? I love him. He's my favorite player. He's talking about you non-football people out there. So Saquon Barkley is a great running back, and he's been on the Giants for whatever it was, 5 or 6 seasons. And this past season, his contract ran out, and they didn't give him a new one on the Giants, so he left. He went to a new team that wanted him to pay for his services, and that was the Eagles. That was my team. That's great. You're right. I mean, I try not to hate players. I try not to, root against people. If you're on the other team, yes, I hope you do badly. I hope you lose today. But that's an example. Right. If he's the other guy, especially if he's a star player, the Saquon Barkley from his first year, right out of Penn State, right out of college, and he went right to the Giants. He was the second pick in the draft, I think. I mean, he was like super, super highly picked, and he was like you made a running back in a lab. Like he was the absolute best. He had one of the best seasons of all time as a rookie. And he is fast and he's strong and he had moves and he's built like a truck. And like, this guy is perfect. Anyway. But yes, so when the player's really good on the other team, you really hate them even more, right? But that's a good example. Thank you, Brian. Yes. Okay. That's like that. But anyway, it's the same with the elections or with January, the certification of the president and the VP's role and the Senate and all that. If you don't know all the rules, sometimes coming into it, you could be tricked. Or, others who are also, let's just say, ignorant of the rules can make you upset by telling you it's not fair when in fact it is fair. I mean, this is the rules. Right? Okay. Anyone else? Let's go. Let's hit this thing before we have to leave. So been on here for about 45 minutes. We've got a lot of viewers. It's your turn. Your turn, my friends. Anything you want. Brian doesn't even hate the Eagles or any other team. Well, isn't that a nice fib to tell the world? I'm kidding. I think I'm kidding. Hate might be too strong of a word, but it's really close. It's really close. He's a sweet football fan. Okay, well, he's my hero. As I wish I could be not as caring as much. Okay. Hello, Stephanie. Stephanie Wesley on YouTube. Greetings. Stephanie says simply, Islam and the Antichrist. Okay. Are you asking, are they related? I think probably that's what you're asking. I'll give it a shot based on that. But if you want to ask more specifically, please just type it in. Bondservant, don't use hate. That's right. The end of the world is near. Be nice. That's what the Bible says. Okay. She says yes. Right. Islam and Antichrist. I personally believe, excuse me, that it's the best vehicle. If it's not the vehicle to produce the Antichrist or the religion, the belief system that he will come from, if it's not it, I don't know what it is. It's pretty clear, just knowing the history of the religion and the claims of the book that it produced and the prophet that it allegedly had. It's pretty plain that the enemy created it out of nothing, to deceive Christians and Jews, and if they can't be deceived, to persecute and take over their lives and lands and take it for yourself, and if they resist you, to kill them. And apparently this God is fine with that. And at the core of it, you hate the Jews and you think they are apes and pigs, and you have to fight them till the day of judgment. Well, that tells me all I need to know about your religion. The enemy did create it because you didn't think of that on your own. There's no kind of good angle to that. So yes, I believe it's custom made for the this end time drama, these events that the Bible talks about, at least partially using that belief system for sure. Again, if it's not that, nothing comes close to that. I don't know what it could be. Dajjal and Jesus. Right. So the Dajjal is a character. It's a motif. It's an idea. It's a alleged player in the Islamic end times. And this Dajjal is a deceiver. It's like an Antichrist figure who, opposes Islam and wants. Some people say it's a Jewish guy or whatever, and the true Muslim leader will destroy him. And so it's kind of like a mirror image of what we're expecting Jesus to return and get rid of the Antichrist, or to have victory, and they kind of say the opposite. And it's you can kind of read it like the Dajjal is actually Jesus himself, so they want to destroy him in their end times, and that's kind of true. Even though when it actually does come down, um, and he does return, that even though that the Bible does say that the kings of the world unite to try to fight Jesus as he returns, and it doesn't work out well for them at all. Um, but there's an attempt to do it, so there's some kind of rationale. Loan says, I'm back. Hang on one sec. Your sister's asking me something here. And Daniel refers to the people of the prince to come. Yes. They were Arab soldiers of Rome. That's how I understand it. So it's Islam. Yes. Islam controls the Temple Mount, etc. All the nations come against Israel. It's Islamic. Yeah, basically. Right. Daniel 9 says the people of the prince to come shall destroy the temple. Daniel revisited by Mark Davidson doesn't. I think it's in that book. Is it in Chronicles of the End Times? I don't know. Others have said it as well, but Mark says it well. That the people of the prince to come who actually destroyed the temple were conscripts from the local area. They weren't Italians from Rome; they were Syrians, Arab Syrians, from Damascus area and Aleppo and stuff like that. They're the ones who actually hated the Jewish people inside the temple and wanted to and burned it down. So in that, they weren't Muslims, obviously, because there was no Muslim religion. There was no Islam yet. But those peoples certainly were the target of the Muhammad religion that came later. The Syrians, yes, the Arab world generally, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Iraq, Egypt, so forth, the whole Middle East, Northern Africa region, that it came from the Arab people. So yes. And yeah, Islam, the Jordanians control the Temple Mount. That's correct. And all their enemies that surround them are all Islamic nations. That's all correct. I'm back. Yes, she does. Okay. Loanne says, how people like David Jeremiah, and I'm not into disrespecting individual preachers or people, okay? How people like David Jeremiah and others are not understanding the rapture. I'm curious if any will step forward and acknowledge the truth about the rapture. Loanne, we're not in a position to know their minds. Anyone who is David Jeremiah is a major Christian preacher, a big, huge church, mega church, and has a lot of influence, and is an end times teacher. And he's part of the prevailing view of the evangelical world that the next event to occur before the return of Jesus is this rapture that takes all the Christians off of the earth and sucks them into heaven in a big vacuum cleaner. And they watch 7 years of tribulation in their view from heaven, and then return again with Jesus when he comes the second, whatever. Anyway, is it possible that whether himself or others like him that are teaching it, don't really believe it? And you say acknowledge the truth about the rapture. I don't think many of them disbelieve it. I think they really believe it. And it helps that they believe it because it helps with getting money, makes them rich, makes their churches big. It really helps to scare people with it. Like, boy, you better start believing and become a Christian today because the rapture could happen tomorrow. That's all very effective evangelism from their point of view. It is. I mean, if you just want people to sign up and sign the form, now those are not disciples, beloved. Right? Those are not disciples of Jesus. Those are people who are scared because they think the rapture is going to happen tomorrow. Doesn't mean they can't be disciples. Doesn't mean they're not eventually. Or maybe this is part of their package, when they accepted Christ. This is what drew them in the door, or was just a part of it. They really don't care, or whatever. They're fine with whatever, but this is what they're clinging to, or this is what their candidate is, or their bias is, or you know what I mean, their team, their emotions of being lifted up off the planet in a rapture is overwhelming the logic of the scriptures. So I would guess that most who teach it do believe it. And it's easy to believe it. It's easier to teach it. It's easier you have to learn a lot less scripture. You got to teach people a lot less. You can just focus on the here and now, not worry about the kingdom and the suffering. And there's no theology of suffering or martyrdom or, severe trouble or this whole tribulation period. It's not for you. A lot easier to teach it that way. So, and when you combine all those things, I think, yes, they believe it. But again, I just speaking personal friends, like close acquaintances, people in my life, dear people, like love them 1,000,000%, would never, say a bad thing about them, but they have that view. And a lot of times they came to faith with that view. So when you try to rip that part away or to say that part's not correct, we got to be ready for the alternate scenario. They fight it because whether it's conscious or subconscious, they've connected that rapture at any moment idea to Jesus himself. So they're like, well, if that's not true, what else isn't true that they taught me when I got saved? Do I really need to go back and start over and learn this stuff again? Right? Like, so you can see where it could be a problem. And for a preacher or somebody who's a multi-million-dollar, mega church leader, you would think it would be even harder for them to admit that, because that's pride, that's ego, that's Pharisee spirit, right? Like, I can't possibly be wrong. All that combined, and then, oops, you're going to lose your members, you're going to lose your money, you're going to lose your standing, you're going to lose it all. Well, first of all, it shouldn't be a problem right? We're supposed to lose it all for Jesus. That shouldn't be an issue, but it could be. Anyways, it's okay. So to answer your question in a positive way, it's possible that when things get rolling and getting bad for Christians, even worse than now, like what's just happening in Africa and the Middle East is happening in every country, they might reconsider. Or when they see bad things happening to Israel, they might reconsider. Or when Iran attacks the Middle East and no one can stop them, they might reconsider. When the 7 years begins and there's a covenant with death and Sheol, all the nations make a peace agreement with Israel and there's a third temple built, maybe they'll reconsider then. Maybe they'll have to wait all the way till, if they're around, till that abomination of desolation before it clicks. And by then, you're really close to being too late. Because now the mark of the beast is here. And if you're not convinced that, if you're still waiting and all of a sudden you see all this stuff and you don't think it's started yet, and whoops, here it is. You can't have started yet because there's been no rapture. But all of a sudden we have an antichrist and there's the mark of the beast and stuff like that. And you're like, well, it's cool because it's not really the mark. I mean, you might. I don't know. I don't expect that really, but don't play around with all that. Just get right with God now. Just go to the scripture now. Just learn at his feet now. Don't worry about what you've been told. Don't worry about traditions. Don't worry about any of that. Let him teach you, and he'll tell you. Speaking of disciples, there's a mass movement in colleges right now Might see it on X. Thousands getting saved and baptized. Who is discipling them? I don't know. I don't know. And I don't even know if that's legit. I just don't know. I have not seen that. Not saying it's not happening. I don't know. I just don't know. But to your point, it's one thing to get, you say I'm gonna acknowledge Jesus and I'm repenting and I'm the blood of Jesus is covering me now. I'm saved and I'm getting baptized and woo, let's start my walk in Christ. But then who's discipling them? Is it just like, okay, congrats, next? Okay, you step out of the pool, have a nice life. I don't know. I don't know, sister. Here's Nancy Mace. Sorry, no one asked about this, but this just came across right before we went on, it looks like. When she said, come hell or high water, I'm holding a hearing in that text message. Now she's gone public with that, confirming it and saying, if anyone thinks I buckle under pressure, we must not have met yet. I love a good pressure cooker. Once my mind is set, there's no stopping me. Well, that's refreshing. In terms of actual, public hearings and getting to the bottom of this secrecy and all that jazz that we need to do, please. All right, let's check one more time around with the venues that I can't see right in front of my face to see if there's any questions. The Endtime.Church app looks like there is not. My personal Facebook and YouTube, indulge me for one moment. And I don't want to miss anyone. And then we'll call it an afternoon, okay? All right, that looks good on Facebook. And on YouTube, looks good there too. Oh, wait. Darn. Sorry, Jason, I see it now. I'm going to try to copy this. This is Jason Ward on my YouTube. Let's try to copy it over here. Oops. As a pastor, let's see. Okay. Copied it over. Jason Ward. If you as a pastor was or were to have a direct encounter of the first kind, person to alien, what would you say or ask? Wow. That's obviously a personal asking for a personal opinion. If I knew it was an actual life form that was actually not from here and it was not an artificial life form and it was not a trick, it was not some kind of projection or AI or robot or something like that. If it's actually another creature, if I knew that for a fact, the first thing I'd say is probably, where are you from? Like anyone else who I would meet. What's up? Where are you from? Where's your home? That'd be the first thing. Establish some type of relationship or some kind of conversation or trust, hopefully, if they're not, you know, aggressive or hostile. And then, yeah, I'd be very quick to get to, do you know the God of the universe? If I said Jesus or Yeshua to you, what does it mean to you? Do you admit that you have a creator? What is your religious system like? Um, because God has visited us as one of us and told us that we need to come to Him to be saved and to live forever. So how does it work? What do you think about all that? Yeah, it's something like that. Okay. Obviously, that's tough. Well, no, never really had to think about that. All right, very good. Very good, everybody. Nice. Thanks, Jason. Thanks to Luann. Thanks to Bond Servant. Thanks to Stephanie. T-Rex. I don't think I left anyone out. Luann? Did I say Luann already? Well, you twice then. Okay. All right, guys. Very, very good. Thanks for participating. Thanks for the excellent questions, as always. And God willing, we will be back Monday night for our Endtime.Church service. Please be there. Don't just come on Friday. Be there on Monday when we do communion together. We worship in song together. We pray together. And we learn a lesson from the Word of God together. Sound good? All right. Okay, so hopefully you'll be there. Pastor Anderson, Dr. Anderson, is bringing the message this week. And plan is to be back next week here as well. So tell somebody about it, share this, and give to the End Time Church, because we are brought to you by your tithes and offerings 100%. There is no denomination, big, rich church, organization, tech bro, or anything else behind us. It's just you. The church being the church. That's the way it always has been and always will be. You need help, you help. So that's what we're asking. All right? So pray and do that. Till next time, guys. Pastor Manti, see you later. Have a great weekend.